My beloved child, I do not hold back the blessing, but I am waiting to see whether your heart is pure enough to carry it. For an inheritance is not only a reward, it is also a test hidden beneath the light. You think you are ready, but if your heart is still murky, that very blessing will become the most subtle snare, one in which the enemy does not even need to raise a hand. Remember the story of King Solomon, the one to whom the Lord gave wisdom, fame, and riches beyond compare. Yet those very blessings, when his heart slowly drifted away from the Lord God, became a blade that turned back on him. He built a temple for the Lord, but later he built altars for foreign gods. Solomon did not fall in the days of hunger and lack. He fell in the day of abundance, when his heart was no longer cleansed day by day. I do not bless you so that you may forget me, but so that you may see clearly. Without me, every blessing becomes a sentence of judgment. There are seasons when I deliberately hide you from the eyes of people. You call it abandonment, but in truth, I am shielding you from jealous eyes that are waiting to devour the very seed of blessing that has just begun to sprout. Those who once were close suddenly step away. Your words seem to lose their weight, and your heart is bewildered. Lord, do you still remember me yet? My child, it is in that shadowed place that I keep you, so your inheritance can mature instead of being miscarried halfway. If you hastily chase the spotlight before its time, you will burn up the season of preparation I have so carefully arranged for you. There will come a time when I cause some people to leave your life, and you cannot understand why. You weep over losing them, but I breathe a sigh of relief, for there are relationships that are no longer permitted to go any further. I cut them off not because I am cold, but because I see clearly that they would become leaks through which your blessing is drained. They rejoiced when you were small, but grew uncomfortable when you began to grow in me. They were silent when you were wounded, yet quick to speak when there was a chance to slander. The tighter you hold on to them, the slower you become. For there are victories reserved only for those who dare to accept the loss of certain people. When every prayer has dried on your lips, when my silence stretches so long that your soul feels lost, that is the moment the test is being raised to a new level. You ask, Lord, why don't you speak while I am sinking? I am examining whether you will still trust me when you no longer feel anything at all, for great blessings always come with great trials. The enemy is not troubled when you lack. It trembles when you remain faithful while you still see nothing. Do not give up too quickly, for many lose their inheritance, not because they lack anointing, but because they abandon their post in the last 5 minutes before the blessing is released. My child, there are seasons when I choose to be silent so that you feel as if you have been left floating in a vast emptiness. You pray but hear no answer. You knock, but no door seems to open. You look around and no hand reaches out to you. Your heart closes in and your soul begins to crack, thinking that I no longer care. Yet in that very moment, I am quietly covering you in a hidden mist, because the blessing I have appointed for you is drawing near. The enemy is frantically searching for ways to destroy it. If I do not hide you, you will be exposed to the jealous rage of demons and the prying gaze of people. As the scriptures say, whoever dwells in the secret place of the Most High will always be sheltered under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. You are not abandoned. You are being hidden by me. I know that in the season of hiddenness, your heart is easily wounded. You see those who were once close slowly drift away. Your words suddenly seem to lose their meaning, and every door appears to shut in your face. You think you have done something wrong, that I am punishing you. But my child, this is not punishment, it is protection. There are people who are no longer allowed to hear what I am about to speak into your heart because their lips are not pure enough to keep heavenly secrets. There are places where you are no longer permitted to remain because the soil there is no longer clean enough to nourish the seed I have sown in you. I cut things off not because you are lacking, but because the blessing is coming too close, and I must keep you out of reach of envious souls. Understand this, my beloved. When I hide you, I do not hide you to forget you, but to grow you. I do not want you to become someone dependent on the gaze, the praise, or the approval of the world. For one destined to carry a heavenly inheritance cannot live off the fragile applause of men. If you constantly crave recognition, you will not withstand it when I place you where no one understands you. I am teaching you the value of silence, the place where my voice resounds most clearly. Only when no one stands beside you will you truly hear my footsteps walking with you. There is a truth few are willing to accept. Before I lift someone up, I always lead that person into a hidden place, just as Moses was placed by me in the cleft of the rock when my glory passed by, so that he might survive the weight of divine splendor. Exodus 33:22. You too are in that cleft of the rock. It is dark and narrow, yet safe. You see only the backside of events, while I am doing what no one else knows. Your loneliness is not the mark of failure, but the sign of birth. Everything great in my kingdom is conceived in stillness. Be patient, for I am working on the deepest parts within you, the parts that the public light is not yet ready to see. If you continue to look at everything through the eyes of the flesh, you will easily come to the wrong conclusion. God has left me. And in that moment, you will step out of the refuge I prepared for you and run into the open field where the enemy is waiting. Many have done this. They stepped out before the appointed time, only to be crushed by the very blessing they had prayed for. You must understand, hiddenness is not exclusion. It is the process I use to safeguard the most precious thing being formed in you. When I have not yet allowed you to shine, it is not because you are unworthy, but because I am waiting for the light within you to grow strong enough not to be swallowed by the light around you. I know you are weary, for you have waited so long and still see no change. You look around and everyone else seems to be having doors open to them while you remain outside, knocking again and again. But my child, I have no need for you to knock on someone else's door when I myself am building a new door meant only for you. You think you have been abandoned, but in truth, I am separating you from the crowd so that you will not be dissolved into it. I am teaching you to lean on me, not on noise, not on numbers. For you are chosen to build, not merely to blend in. A carrier of heavenly inheritance cannot be trained in the roar of applause, but only in solitude and tears. Remember David, the little shepherd boy forgotten out in the fields, while his brothers were invited to the feast with the prophet Samuel. Yet in the very moment he was forgotten, I called his name when others thought he was unqualified. I had already seen in him a heart humble enough to be king. So it is with you today. It is not because you are exalted, but because you are hidden, that the blessing is preserved. Do not fear the darkness, for I am there. Do not fear being forgotten, for I am remembering you more than ever. As long as you keep your heart at peace in that secret place, I know exactly when to open the door, and when that door opens, no one will be able to shut it. I do not want you to collapse right before the finish line. When you feel most alone, that is when I am closest. I do not want you to see only isolation. I want you to see the cloak of protection wrapped around you. I do not want you to hear only the silence. I want you to hear my whisper within that silence. Rest in me. For when your heart is at rest, you will hear the heartbeat of my will, and when you realize that being hidden is not being forsaken, you will stop complaining and begin to give thanks. I am teaching you a lesson reserved only for the chosen. How to remain still in the dark when everything in you longs for the light. If you learn this, you will no longer tremble at silence, nor be anxious when others move ahead of you. For you will know that true blessing never arrives early. It comes at the exact moment you are strong enough to hold it, as I have promised through the prophet Jeremiah. For I know the plans I have for you, plans of peace and not of harm, to give you a future and a hope. Jeremiah 29:11. And that future, my child, is drawing closer than you think. But before your inheritance is released, I must cleanse your heart of fear and doubt. I need you to learn to be silent, yet still believe, to be hidden, yet still rejoice, to see nothing, yet remain faithful. For only hearts refined in hiddenness are strong enough to keep the blessing without letting the blessing destroy them. And when you have learned to be at rest in the hidden place, I will begin to prune away what no longer belongs to you, so that when the blessing comes, your heart will be light enough to take hold of it. My beloved child, there are things I must take away, not because I desire you to lose, but because I desire to rescue what remains in you. Often you cannot see it, but the people you are desperately clinging to are the very ropes tightening around your soul. I know you love them. I know you have wept over them. But my child, if I do not cut them away, you will slowly die in pity. When I allow someone to leave your life, do not see it as betrayal. See it as heaven's intervention. There are people who are only permitted to write one chapter in your story, not the entire book. If you insist on keeping them, you are rewriting a story whose ending I myself have already ordained. Do you remember Abraham and Lot? When I called Abraham to leave his father's house and homeland, I never told him to bring Lot along. But Abraham loved his nephew and thought that holding on to a little familiarity would do no harm. And then, in the midst of lush pasture land, Lot and Abraham parted ways in bitterness. For when you walk with the wrong person, the blessing becomes a burden. Many times the blessing is delayed, not because I am slow, but because you are dragging along people whom heaven never called to walk with you. I see in your heart the fear of losing people. You are afraid of being alone, afraid of being misunderstood, afraid that others will think you are cold. But my child, if you let your emotions drive you, you will never walk in the path I have set for you. There are people who were happy when you were weak, but became uncomfortable when you started to stand up. There are people who stayed silent when you were misunderstood, but were quick to speak when there was something negative to say about you. They do not truly hate you. They simply cannot bear the light in you that is growing. The light is not at fault, but darkness will always resist whenever it is exposed. Do not blame them. Rather, thank me that I have shown you who is true and who is false before you step into a new season. You often ask, why does the Lord allow me to lose the people I love? And I still whisper in your heart, it is because I want you to be free. Every person I cut away is not a punishment, but a cleansing. If you keep relationships that feed only on emotions, you will drag them with you through a door I have never opened for them. That door is for you, not for the crowd. You cannot take everyone up the same mountain, because at the summit there is not enough room for the whole group, just as Jesus, when he went into the Garden of Gethsemane, took only 3 close disciples with him. And when he drew near to the deepest place of prayer, he himself went on alone. There are stretches of the journey where no one is allowed to walk with you. No matter how much you love them, I want you to learn a lesson that few understand. True love does not always mean holding on. Sometimes it is knowing when to let go. You are not losing them. You are placing them back into my hands. You are not pushing them away. You are returning them to where they belong. When I sign the order to cut something off, it is because I see in advance what you cannot yet see. You see them as kind and loyal, but I see the fractures in their heart that, if you stay too close, will cause you to break with them. I know there are promises between you and them, but I also know that my word matters more. A covenant bound only by human emotion will never outlast a promise that has been written in the blood of the Lamb. I want you to look back at yourself. Why do you keep holding on to people who are no longer walking the same road? Is it because you are afraid that no one will understand you? Or because you have not truly believed that I am enough to fill every empty space? When you try to tie back together the cords I have already cut, you are making yourself an enemy of my work. You say you just want peace, but in truth, you are afraid of losing control. You say you want to love as the Lord commands, but in truth, you are avoiding the pain of letting go. Understand this. Love does not mean attachment. When I tell you to love, I do not tell you that you must keep. Do you know what happens when you cling to relationships I have already stamped finished? Blessing begins to be contaminated. Spiritual secrets are shared with the wrong people. Words you speak in sincerity are twisted into weapons used against you. The enemy does not need to attack you from the outside. It only needs to use those close to you to slowly drain your strength and your faith. I have seen so many people fall, not because of great battles, but because they could not bring themselves to let go of those who once laughed with them in the past. You must never forget there are faces that were a blessing in the old season, but become a hindrance in the new. I am purifying the circle around you, not so that you would lose, but so that you would overcome. Not so that you would be lonely, but so that you would not be deceived. There are people who come into your life only to help you see your own lessons. When they leave, the lesson remains. I want you to remember, you may love anyone, but never let that affection grow bigger than my voice. If I tell you to let go, do not ask why, because sometimes the answer is revealed only after the tears. And if you still do not understand, look again at Abraham. Only after he and Lot parted did I speak. Lift up your eyes and look. All the land that you see I give to you and to your descendants. Genesis 13:14, 1:5. Blessing was released only after the bonds had been loosened. Do not be afraid of the empty spaces. I do not take away to leave you empty. I take away to make you clean. Wherever you are willing to lose, there I will place true blessing. Wherever you are willing to hurt, there I will make all things new. But if you insist on holding on to what is already dead, I cannot pour living blessing into you. I cannot pour new wine into old wineskins. You must allow me to make them new, even if that process makes you bleed. Trust that the wound of today is the doorway to the glory of tomorrow. And when you have learned how to let go, you will taste a strange, unshakable peace. You will no longer weep over those who leave, but will give thanks that I let their true face be revealed early. You will begin to discern who is truly called to walk with you and who has only been feeding off the blessings on your life. You will learn to choose silence instead of arguments, to choose prayer instead of complaint, because you know that I am clearing the table to prepare a new feast. I tell you this so your heart may rest. No loss in me is ever meaningless. Every person I remove is a weight you no longer need to carry. Every door I close is a wrong road you will not have to pay for. Every tear that falls when you release is a seed I am watering for the next season. So, do not regret, do not panic, do not try to go back. You do not need old relationships to be complete. You only need me, the one who never changes. And when your heart has become light, you will hear me more clearly. For true blessing never comes with noise and chaos. It visits the hearts that have been cleansed of bondage and jealousy. The more you learn to let go, the closer blessing draws near. And in that stillness, you will begin to realize, I am not only teaching you to release people, I am teaching you to release your own ego so that you may be humble enough to keep what I am about to entrust to you in the new season. For there are things, my child, that can only be unlocked once you dare to move forward, even when no one else walks with you. And from the moment you truly learn how to walk alone in me, blessing will no longer be blocked. Because now, no hand but mine has the right to hold your life. My beloved child, one of the most subtle traps the enemy sets is to make you think that my silence is proof that I am doing nothing. It whispers, God has forgotten you. Maybe that promise was just your imagination. And then your heart begins to waver. Your faith starts to crack bit by bit. But I say this to you, my silence never means my absence. When you do not see me moving, that is when I am arranging all things in depths your eyes cannot reach. Yet in the darkness, it is growing. I know you are tired of waiting for the promise to be fulfilled, waiting for the door to open, waiting for what I have spoken to become reality. With each passing day, your heart feels weaker, and you begin to ask yourself, maybe I misunderstood God's will. But my child, you are not wrong. You are simply walking through the hardest part of the test. Every promise of mine must pass through the fire of time, so that faith may be refined. If I gave you the blessing the moment you asked, you would never learn how to keep it. Waiting is not delay. Waiting is the process by which I raise your faith to a higher level. As Scripture says, faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. Hebrews 11:1. And it is precisely when you see nothing that true faith is born. I see every night when you want to give up. You kneel to pray and rise again with a heart full of doubt. You think, maybe I am not good enough, or maybe God reserved that for someone else. But my child, I never chose you because you were good enough. I chose you because I wanted to reveal my kindness through you. What you are waiting for is not a reward for perfection, but the fruit of faithfulness. I am teaching you a kind of faith that does not rest on outcomes, but on relationship. When you are still chasing results, you will be anxious. When you are only seeking me, you will be at peace. For if you have me, you never truly lack anything. Many think that faith is standing firm in the midst of a great storm, but true faith is remaining on your knees, even when you have no strength left. When you are exhausted and still believe, that is when heaven is signing decrees. I am not silent just to test you. I am silent to position you. That silence is a test of love. Will you remain when there is no more comfort? When all signs disappear and only my word remains, will you still hold fast, my child? Do not fear the silence. Fear losing your faith in the waiting. For if you give up in the final minute, you will never know that with just one more moment, I was ready to step in. I have seen many stop right before dawn. They have walked almost the entire journey, then turned aside because they were tired, impatient, thinking I was too slow. They search for solutions that are easier and faster, but in that very place, they lose their true inheritance. You must not follow that path. Remember Abraham, who waited for years for the promise of a son. When his heart grew impatient, he listened to his wife's idea and brought forth Ishmael, and that decision brought many troubles upon his descendants. Sometimes what comes faster is not what is right. I work within time, but I am not bound by time. As for you, if you do not learn to trust me amid delay, you will miss the greatest lesson of the one who lives under grace. You need to understand that waiting is not an empty gap. Every moment you spend there is a moment I am preparing you for what you have asked for. If you receive the blessing while your heart is still unready, that blessing will crush you. I do not want you to collapse under the weight of your own prayers. Look at Joseph. If he had left the prison earlier, he would never have met Pharaoh. If he had been rescued by human hands, he would never have been placed in the position I intended. It is the same with you. There are doors I have not yet opened, not because I forgot, but because I am rewriting the foundations so that when you step in, you will stand firm and not fall. I know there are times when you want to quit, to take a break. You look at others who seem to have it easier, who seem to be blessed more quickly, and you begin to compare. But my child, I did not call you to follow them. I called you to follow me. Their journey is not your journey. I have placed in you a different kind of grace, a grace that is born through tears, solitude, and waiting. Do not let the haste of others make you lose the rhythm of my steps. For I do not run, I lead. And whoever learns to walk at my pace will always reach the destination, even if it seems a little slower. I want you to learn a deeper kind of patience. Patience in the heart, not only in outward actions. Patience is not doing nothing. It is knowing how to trust, even when you are doing little. You do not need to appear strong. You only need not to walk away. Sometimes standing still is the strongest way to fight. Just keep kneeling, keep believing, keep remaining quietly in me, for I am never slow. Everything I have promised has its appointed time. That time is drawing nearer than you imagine. But if you leave your place, the blessing will come and not find you there. As Scripture says, let us not grow weary in doing good, for if we do not lose heart, in due season we shall reap. Galatians 6-9. My child, I do not blame you for being tired. I only long for you not to turn back. Every time you think I am far away, remember the times I pulled you out of the deepest pits. I am still that one, unchanging. Do not let delay make you doubt my love. Delay is not rejection, it is formation. I am teaching you to trust in my word, not in the rhythm of the world. And when your heart is quiet enough, you will realize it is right here in this silence that I am writing the greatest work of your life. When you have passed through this season of waiting, you will not be as before. You will no longer be someone who rushes after results, but one who understands the rhythm of heaven. Then I can entrust blessing to you without fearing that the blessing will draw you away from me. For I will have seen that your heart no longer seeks success, but seeks my presence. And that, my child, is the sign that true blessing is ready to be unveiled. And then, when you step into that blessing, I will test your heart once more, not with lack, but with abundance itself. For sometimes, what is more dangerous than failure is success without me in it. But be at peace. I will walk with you on both sides of the mountain as you climb in faith, and as you keep from falling amidst glory, my beloved child. I know there are cuts within you that time has never healed. There are words spoken over you when you were still small that still echo, you'll never do anything. Faith is just an illusion. You were born ordinary, words that seemed harmless, yet they took deep root in your soul, making you forget your true image in me. You do not realize that every time you believe those words, you are letting the enemy rewrite your own definition. It does not need to bind you with visible chains. If it can make you believe you have no value, you will lock your own heart. But I declare, you are a marvelous and astonishing creation, for my works are truly wonderful. Psalm 139-14. You are not a mistake, you are my masterpiece. You think those words have passed, but they are still quietly directing your reactions today. When someone looks down on you, you immediately shut your heart. When someone praises you, you cannot believe it. When I call you to step out, you tremble because the memories of long ago still whisper, you are not enough. In that very moment, you have forgotten that my word is stronger than any human voice. You are living even though the door of the cell has long been opened. Many around you do not hate you at all, but you look at them through the lens of old wounds. You are haunted by the fear of rejection, to the point that you reject the very opportunities I send you. Do not let the shadows of the past cover the light of the present. I see you trying to be strong, trying to prove your worth through success, through effort, through blessings. But my child, if the deepest motive in you is still to show them, you are still bound. I did not call you to prove yourself. I called you to live true in my grace. When you use blessing to cover your wounds, that blessing will become a burden. For I do not give you blessings so that you can run away from your memories, but so that you may use them to bring healing to others. You do not need success in order to have value. You have value, and that is why I entrust you with an inheritance. And true blessing only comes when you no longer need to be recognized, but only need to be found in me. Do you know why the enemy likes to use words to wound you? Because it understands that the true battlefield lies in the mind. When negative words slip into the heart, they take root and gradually become truth in the way you live. If you believe you are weak, you will live weak. If you believe you are unworthy, you will reject every opportunity. And so the enemy hardly needs to attack. It simply lets you defeat yourself. But I want you to know this: no weapon that is formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. Isaiah 54:17. People's words have no authority over your life unless you agree with them. My dear one, the memories of being humiliated, misunderstood, abandoned, I see them all. I do not turn away. Every tear I gather. But I do not want you to live there forever. If you keep holding your pain, you will turn it into your identity. You will confine yourself to the frame of the one who was wounded, while I have already called you the one who is healed. People may speak about you according to what they see, but only I have the right to define you, and my definition has never changed. You are the child of the king. Look at Gideon, the one who said, "My clan is the weakest, and I am the least in my father's house." Judges 6:15. But I looked at him and said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Do you see? I did not call him according to his situation, but according to the potential I had placed within him. In the same way, my child, I do not call you according to your past, but according to the destiny I have written. The question is, whose voice do you listen to more, the voice of people or mine? If you keep listening to the old voices, you will remain trapped inside an outdated version of yourself. But if you dare to believe my fresh word, you will be reborn right on the very ground that once caused you pain. I know there are wounds that are not easy to touch. You have hidden them so deeply that you think you have forgotten them, yet they still quietly steer your every reaction. You avoid love, fear closeness, fear trusting. You look at people through a mist of suspicion, and I see you building walls between yourself and the world. But my child, how can light come in if the walls do not fall? I do not want you to pretend to be okay. I want you truly healed. Let me touch the parts you do not dare to speak of. Do not be afraid, for I do not come to condemn, but to heal. Every part of you that you think I will reject is precisely the place where I want to begin again. When I heal, I do not merely mend, I make new. I do not simply erase memories, I rewrite their meaning. What once caused you shame, I will turn into testimony to grace. The pain that once silenced you, I will turn into a voice that awakens many other souls. I will make those who once despised you have to confess, only the Lord could have done this. But for me to do this, you must allow me to touch you. You must stop your self-protection, for it is your defenses that have kept you imprisoned longer than the original wound. Look deeply within. Are you afraid of what people will say? Or are you afraid to face yourself? If you know who you are in me, human voices will lose their weight. If you understand that blessing is given to glorify me, you will no longer need to prove anything. I do not need you to be perfect. I need you to be real, for I can only touch the parts you dare to bring into the light. Do not fear the light. It does not come to burn you, but to cleanse you. When I begin to give you an inheritance, I do not only give money or position, I give back to you the true worth that the world has stolen. My blessing is not only in material things, but in freedom. Freedom from shame, from fear, from having to play the role of the strong one that I never asked of you. When you are freed from the chains within, every blessing on the outside will endure. If your heart is still torn, blessing will be torn. But when your heart is healed, you will wear blessing. My child, let me say this to you in the quiet. No one has the right to define you but me. No word, however bitter, can erase your name from my hand. No past is strong enough to break the plan I have written. You are not what people say you are. You are what I have spoken, and I have spoken. You are loved, you are chosen, and you are sent. When you believe this, every invisible chain will fall. You will stop seeking your worth in human mouths and begin to find it in my eyes. You will stop fearing failure because you know you are already accepted. And then you will see, when the heart is healed, it begins to draw what is pure. The people who come near you will not come for advantage, but for the light within you. For a healed heart is a place where I can dwell. And my child, when that heart has been washed clean, when old words no longer rule over you, I will pour out blessing to the point that nothing can hinder it. But when blessing comes, you must remember, blessing can lift, but it can also destroy. Therefore, keep your heart soft, so that blessing does not pull you away from me. For what is truly fearful is not when you are in lack, but when you are in plenty and forget the one who gave you everything. My child, there is something I must say to you very gently, yet very plainly. The enemy does not only know how to use lack to bring you down, it is also very skilled at using prosperity to draw you away from me. In hardship, you seek me. You weep before me. You cling to me as the only place left. But when doors begin to open, finances flow in, and opportunities multiply, your heart quietly shifts its center. You do not say it aloud, but deep inside you begin to believe that you are fine now, that you can manage on your own. It is there that blessing begins to be distorted from a gift I gave you into a throne on which you sit to feel higher than others. The blessing has not changed its nature, but your heart has changed. And so the blessing becomes a sweet kind of judgment. I see each step you take as you enter this season of favor. At first, you were still trembling, still praying before every decision, still asking me about even the smallest things. But then your schedule grew fuller, the calls came more often, the invitations widened. You began to see prayer as a luxury, reading the word as something to do later, worship only if there's still time. You forgot that what you are holding now were once things you knelt down and begged me for. You forgot that it was I who lifted you out of a low place. Just as I reminded Israel, when you have eaten and are satisfied, when you build fine houses and settle down, when your herds and flocks grow large, do not become proud and forget the Lord your God. That warning in Deuteronomy 8:11-14 was not only for them, it is for you today as well. What breaks my heart is not that you have become richer, more capable, more well-known. I am not jealous of your success, because I am the one who made a way for you. What grieves me is that when I call, you are busy. When I knock, you are silent. When I remind you, you say, "Later, Lord." You gradually value people's gaze more than mine. You weigh whether a decision fits your personal image more than whether it aligns with my will. You do not realize it, but you are stepping little by little away from the center of my purpose, while still thinking that you are serving God through your success. I want you to pause for a moment and look straight into your own heart. If I took away everything you have right now, would your life still feel meaningful? If every ministry, position, amount of money, and all your reputation were taken from you in a single day, would you still find me enough? Because, my child, if when the blessings disappear, you feel that you have lost everything, then those blessings have already become your God. I do not want you to worship the inheritance. I want you to walk with the one who gives the inheritance. As Jesus said, "What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul?" Matthew 16:26 was not written to scare you, but to draw you back to balance. You must understand, the blessings themselves are not evil, but your clinging to them is the real issue. When you begin to think you deserve everything you have, when you place yourself at the center of the story, when you forget that all is grace, at that moment the blessing has changed roles from servant to master. I have seen many who loved me passionately in the days of small beginnings, but grew cold as they were lifted up. They were not crushed by suffering, they were worn down by comfort. It was not the storm, but the soft bed that put them to sleep. I do not want you to become one of them. I also see how you gradually adjust your standards to match the appearance of blessing. There were invitations at the start that you clearly knew did not come from me. But because they were so attractive, so reasonable, you convinced yourself, surely God is okay with this too. You began to sign tiny compromises, small deviations, little things that don't matter. Everyone does it. But my child, every compromise is one more step away from your spiritual safety zone. True blessing does not need you to cheat to keep it. Only what does not come from me needs deceit in order to survive. If you have to hide it, avoid the light, dodge the truth, then it is no longer a blessing, it is a snare. I am not saying these things so that you will fear blessing, but so that you will know how to guard your heart in the midst of blessing. I do not desire that you be poor in the physical sense. I desire that you be wealthy and yet remain tender before me. I long for you to have an inheritance, so that through it you can lift many up, help many suffering souls, and open your heart wider to those who are weaker. But if that inheritance only makes you build higher walls, increase the distance between you and others, drive you away from the poor, the broken, and even away from the house of prayer, then that inheritance is slowly consuming you. A blessing that comes from me must draw you closer to me, not pull you away. Be still, and let me ask you this. When was the last time you sought me just to be with me? Not for a project, not for a plan, not for guidance. When was the last time you wept before me? Not because of the pressure to succeed, but because you longed to be nearer to me. When was the last time you dared to let go of a lucrative opportunity simply because it dimmed my voice in your heart? These questions are not to condemn you, but to bring the focus back into view. For wherever your heart feels at home, that is where the true Lord of your life is. I want to teach you the art of living in blessing without being controlled by it. It is to keep the habit of bowing lower every time you are lifted higher. The higher you rise, the deeper you must kneel. The more you hold, the more you must be willing to release. Do not grip so tightly that your hands become rigid, so that when I want to use you, you are no longer supple enough to obey. Practice giving back to me what I have given you, not because I need it, but because you need to be reminded that you own nothing. You are only a steward. A wise steward never confuses himself with the master. My beloved child, I know there are moments when you worry. If I slow down in chasing work so I can be closer to God, will I lose my opportunities? I smile, because I am the one who opens and closes doors. No door that I have reserved for you can be stolen by anyone else. The only thing that can make you lose your opportunity is when you yourself step out of my orbit. Therefore, do not be afraid to slow down in order to guard your heart. Do not hesitate to lay some things aside in order to preserve our relationship. Do not be afraid to say no to invitations where I am not present. It is better to lose one opportunity and keep your soul than to gain 1,000 opportunities and lose yourself. As the reminder given to the rich in 1 Timothy 6:17 says, "Command those who are rich not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in the living God." That word is not only for other rich people, but for anyone to whom I have given more than others in any way: talent, influence, opportunities, resources. At any moment, you can be the rich person in someone else's eyes. So do not wait until you possess a great deal to start practicing humility. Begin now. While the blessing is still just a tender shoot, the younger the tree, the more it needs to be trained in the right direction, so that later it will not have to be cut down. Let me tell you this, so your heart may be at peace. I am not afraid of your success. I only fear that success might take you out of my hands. I rejoice when you are lifted up, but I grieve if on the day you are honored, you no longer recognize my voice amid the applause. I am proud when the world sees my light in you, but I am sorrowful if you use that light to shine on yourself instead of pointing back to the true source. You were not born to be a star. You were born to be a mirror. The clearer the mirror, the more sharply my image is seen. Therefore, my child, keep your heart soft before me. That is the only way for blessing not to turn into an idol. Every time you realize you are clinging to something more tightly than you cling to me, dare to lay it on the altar. Every time applause stirs your heart more than my voice does, return to the secret place. Every time your schedule fills up to the point that there is no room left for me, let me cut it back. I do not prune you to make you poorer, but so that you will not lose the most precious thing of all, your soul. On the days of lack, you thought you were in danger of collapsing, but in truth, the day you are exalted is far more dangerous. Many have not stumbled in nights of tears, but have fallen on days of celebration. I do not want that to be your story. I have walked with you in the depths of the valley, and I also want to walk with you on the mountaintop. Both places require me just the same. You only need to remember this. Your inheritance is not your crown, it is the evidence of my grace. If you keep this truth in your heart, then blessing will never be a trap, but will instead become a bridge by which many others are led back to me through your very life. My child, I know the feeling you have never dared to put into words. That faint stab in your chest each time you see in the eyes of certain loved ones a fleeting glimmer of something you cannot quite name. Their smiles remain, their congratulations are spoken. But the atmosphere around you suddenly grows heavy, as if your joy has accidentally brushed against a dark, hidden corner in their hearts. You think you are being too sensitive, but you are not. Your spirit has sensed the unrest rippling beneath the surface. Right in the midst of your family, among the very ones you love, there are hearts that twist a little each time you mention victory, breakthrough, or new favor. And this hurts you, not because you despise them, but because you cannot understand why walking with me seems to make you feel lonelier. I have witnessed it all. I have seen clearly the times you shrink back, suddenly speaking less about what I am doing simply because you are afraid of those inexplicable looks. I hear even the words you have never dared to say out loud, the questions you press down inside. Lord, why is it that the more your name is mentioned, the more I feel pushed away? I have counted every tear you have shed in the night, not because of material lack, but because of that sense of being out of sync with the very people closest to you. You have asked me not to let anything bad happen, to guard your heart from becoming bitter, to help you keep loving them without being crushed inside. I have been there in every whispered prayer. I have not missed a single sigh. There have been moments when you considered letting go, not because you are tired of me, but because you are exhausted from trying to balance between favor and relationships. You wanted to go back to being the old version of yourself, small, unnoticed, not stirring any waves. You have said to me, maybe I should stop here. If I go further, I'm afraid of offending people, afraid of dragging along things I can't handle. I have heard it all, and I understand. I am not angry with you for such thoughts. I am only pained that you have not yet seen the picture from my perspective. Today I lift you up, not with a voice of reproach, but with the authority of a father who knows the future already sealed. I say to you, do not return to the land from which I have brought you out. Do not walk backward on the journey, just because of other people's eyes. The portion of inheritance I have set aside for you no longer lies in the realm of maybe or changeable. It has been decided in a place higher than every power and authority. In the throne room, I have signed my name over your portion. What has been ordained for you has already left the place of judgment and is on its way to the exact destination I have chosen. And the only address it bears is your life. No one, not even you, can cancel it. But you can delay it or turn it into a burden if you allow fear to lead you instead of faith. You have gone through a season that most people know nothing about. They only see the results, but I am the one who has seen the whole process. You were insulted and stayed quiet, misinterpreted yet chose silence, wrongly judged and did not defend yourself, but simply stood still and whispered to me, Lord, you know my heart. When you chose to let me be your defender instead of protecting yourself, you put yourself in exactly the right place for me to intervene. I have not forgotten the days when you swallowed humiliation so that no one would be hurt, so that nothing I am building would be damaged. You thought those were just a few hidden moments of weakness, but to me they were precious stones with which I have been building a throne of grace over your life. Now is the time when the reward begins to break through. It is not just a specific gift, but a new season in which your spiritual weight is completely different from before. You speak a word, and the atmosphere shifts. You lay your hand in prayer, and chains begin to loosen. You walk into a room, and the darkness has to shrink back. This is authority forged through tears, through all the times you stayed silent yet still believed. And yet it is precisely in this moment that the enemy refuses to sit still. It knows very well what I am about to do, and though it cannot stop my hand, there is one thing it can still target: your heart. If it can make you waver, if it can persuade you to give up with your own hands, if it can push you to break covenant, the blessing will still come, but you will no longer be standing in the right place to receive it in fullness. That is why lately your mind has felt so tangled, and you do not even know why. Familiar voices have begun to sound again from family, from relatives, from those who used to be close. They say things that sound very reasonable, that sound very much like love. But deep inside you can feel the hidden point of the spear. Some tell you not to be so extreme, not to give yourself so much, to live gently, to stop mentioning the Lord so often, to stop seeing everything as spiritual. Others lightly press on your fear of abandonment, pretending to comfort you while sowing questions. What if one day God doesn't help you anymore? If you fall, who will catch you? These words are not random. The enemy understands the exact place where you are vulnerable. He knows you love your family. He knows you treasure those people, so he borrows their lips to plant questions in your heart. If these things came from strangers, you would brush them off easily. But because they sound familiar, you begin to ask yourself, maybe I've gone too far. Maybe I should tone myself down a little to keep everyone happy. My child, listen carefully. Not every gentle word comes from me. Not every piece of advice from family fits the path I have marked out for you. The enemy is more cunning than you think. It rarely shows up with a horrifying face, but usually speaks with the voice of someone you do not want to disappoint. He will deliberately touch the old scars within you, perhaps memories of being criticized as a child, that time you were abandoned, that moment you were treated as insignificant. He stirs them back to life, making you fear that if you keep walking in my favor, you will be cut off from everyone, slandered more, misunderstood even more deeply. He will make you think, if only I would just stay normal, without blessings, maybe there would be less trouble. That is his strategy. If he cannot stop me from blessing you, he will try to make you renounce the blessing or live far beneath what I have already prepared. He whispers that I do not really care, that I do not see your weariness, that I am only using you as a tool. Those words are not truth. They are venom, aimed precisely at the place where you are most fragile. I need you to understand this clearly. You are under no obligation to believe any voice that makes you doubt my love, no matter how close that voice may be. You are allowed to honor people, but you are not allowed to exalt their opinions above my word. I am not asking you to oppose your family, nor am I asking you to despise anyone. I am simply telling you not to let any human being, even the one you love most, hold the right to direct your spiritual life in my place. When you let someone stand in that position, you are the one placing the key to your life into human hands, when it belongs only in the hands of the one who created you. Return to the secret place, to where it is just you and me, so you can recover the plumb line of your soul. There you will recognize the difference between my voice and every other voice. My voice may correct you, may press on painful places, but it always gives you hope, always draws you nearer, always leaves you knowing that even though it is hard, you are not rejected. The other voice does the opposite. It makes you shrink back, makes you ashamed, makes you believe that the safest thing is to stop moving forward. My voice lifts your head. The other voice makes you stare at the ground. My voice imparts peace. The other voice sows confusion. Once you learn to discern this, every strategy of the enemy will be exposed. I have never promised you that everyone will be pleased when you step into your inheritance. In fact, the closer you draw to what I have ordained, the more people there will be who do not understand you. Some only see the surface, the compliments, the favor, the opportunities. They do not see the inner struggles, the times you die to your own ego, the midnight negotiations between you and me. They judge from afar, they compare, they envy. But my child, you are not alive to manage their emotions. You are alive to obey my will, and sometimes obeying me means accepting being misunderstood for a season. What I am looking for in you is not a forced smile in front of people, but a heart that stays soft before me, even while you must be strong on the outside. I want you to guard yourself from bitterness, from contempt, from retaliation. You may look at someone and know they are not sincere, yet still choose not to resent them, still quietly pray for them, still maintain healthy distance without feeding hatred. That is the sign of one who has grown up in me, not letting someone else's darkness pull your heart down, and not allowing your wounds to turn you into a hardened person. I also want to remind you, do not shrink yourself down to fit other people's expectations, just because you are afraid of being alone. You do not need to dim your light, so their eyes will stop hurting. I did not lift you up so that you would have to ask each person for permission to keep going. If you curl yourself back every time someone feels uncomfortable, you will never complete the journey. Let me take care of their part. You simply remain faithful in yours. When you live true to your calling, some relationships will naturally change. That is not failure, but a necessary separation so that you can be free. Remember this, the inheritance I have for you is not just so you can enjoy life more, but so that you can become a channel of blessing to the very people who do not yet understand you. One day those who once doubted you may be the very ones who come to you for prayer, for encouragement, for guidance. If you stop because of them today, you will not be able to become the answer they will need tomorrow. Look beyond the present moment. See them through my eyes, not as enemies, but as wounded people who do not yet know how to handle the fact that someone else's name is being mentioned more than theirs. So, my child, do not collapse just because of a few uncomfortable looks. I have chosen you. I have written your name over this portion of inheritance. I have signed the decree in heaven. What remains is whether you will dare to hold your position. Do not let a few words, a wave of emotion, or old memories pull you out of the place I have set you. Keep your spirit awake, your ears sensitive to my voice, your feet planted where I have appointed. Do not walk away. Do not step back. Do not break covenant just because you are tired. You are allowed to be weak, but do not let go of my hand. I am walking with you into a very crucial stretch of the road. The blessing that is about to be revealed will expose the hearts of others more clearly, but it will also reveal your own. Decide now that no matter what people may say, you will choose to listen to me first. Let your hidden tears become intercession for your family and for those who are confused by the favor on your life. Let this inheritance not only prove that I am good to you, but also become a bridge that draws many others closer to me. And above all, remember, in the midst of 1,000 noises, there is one call that never changes. It is my voice calling your name. Day after day, hour after hour, when you are caught in the swirl of praise and criticism, come back to the quiet place where it is just you and me. There you will be reminded of who you are, whose you are, and what you are living for. I hold your hand, and I do not let go. Your part is to keep your ears open so that my voice will always be louder than every other voice. As long as that remains true, the blessing will never be a trap that destroys you, but will become living evidence that I, the Lord your God, am still moving, even in the very places that seem most filled with jealousy and misunderstanding. Listen now, my child. Before you could do anything for me, before you could preach a sermon, sign a contract, or step into any kind of success, I had already called you an heir, not because you have an impressive resume or an admirable record or fewer faults than others, but simply because I chose to love you. It was in those nights when you collapsed, yet did not dare to blame me. It was in those days of shame when you still chose silence instead of rebellion that I saw what is most precious, a heart that is not yet perfect but is willing to stay. You could have turned your back, walked away, lived as though you had never known me, but you did not. You chose to kneel, even with a heart in turmoil. You chose to lift your hands in surrender, even though you could have hidden behind a strong facade. You chose to speak blessing when your circumstances made it so easy to curse. Those small choices, unseen by the world, are fully seen in heaven. And because of those seemingly insignificant moments, I have signed a new covenant over your life. It is an affirmation not written in ink, but in the very blood of the Lamb. It is a decision not merely applauded in earthly meeting rooms, but sealed in the courts of heaven. The hosts of heaven do not move according to your moods, but according to the decrees I have issued over you. When I declared that you are to receive the inheritance that belongs to me, all of heaven shifted. But you must understand this. Anything that carries eternal value will always stir up opposition. Just as a priceless treasure is never left lying in the middle of the road, the blessing I have prepared for you attracts not only grace, but also the jealous gaze of darkness. Hell does not stay silent when a fragile child stands up to walk in my will. That is why I whisper in your heart, my child, stay alert. Not staying up all night in fear, but being awake in the spirit, able to discern what is my voice and what is the voice of seduction. When blessing begins to flow, you will naturally want to tell everyone. I understand that, because when you are joyful, you long for someone to share it with. But not everyone who smiles at you is truly happy to see you lifted up. Not everyone who stood by you in the days of your loneliness is mature enough to endure the new light on your life. Some people can only handle the weak version of you, not the established version of you. If you open your heart carelessly, you will find yourself pierced by blades that you yourself opened the door to. That is why I teach you secrecy. Not secrecy out of suspicion, but secrecy out of reverence for holy things. There are words I speak to you meant only for you and your Father to know together, not to be posted for the whole world to comment on. There are seeds of vision that must lie hidden in the deep soil, watered with tears and prayer, not brought out to show off in the sun when the roots have not yet taken hold. When I draw you into a quieter place, close certain conversations, narrow your inner circle. Do not be quick to assume you are being cut off. I am protecting you from eyes that have no capacity to uphold you, only to judge you. The most sincere words of gratitude you offer should be brought to me in the secret place. The tears of thankfulness should flow before me, not be turned into a performance. For there are blessings which, if not received with wisdom, will become bait for pride and a reason for people to whisper and criticize. Have you noticed that lately some connections have suddenly faded? People who were once very close have slowly drifted away. Places that used to feel familiar have grown cramped and uncomfortable. You ask yourself what you did wrong, why people's attitudes have changed, why rumors have sprung up from those you thought were safe. Your heart is tormented. You want to explain, to hold on, to make everything right. But my child, I am making things new. I am not breaking things so you end up alone. I am sifting so you will not drown in tangled ties. In some seasons, the absence of certain people is the very answer I am sending you. Even if you do not want the word lost to appear, I know this hurts you. I also know you are someone who values loyalty and affection, who does not easily cut off any relationship. You sit and remember the memories, the times you were comforted, the moments you held hands and walked through storms together. You say to yourself, could it be that the Lord wants me to be ungrateful? I hear every one of those thoughts. But I must remind you, gratitude is one thing. Giving people the power to steer your future is another. You may be thankful for what they have done for you, but you are not allowed to let them hold the keys to your life. I alone am the one who holds your destiny, no one else. If I see that the presence of someone in this new season will pull your blessing off the course of my purpose, I will gently nudge them in another direction. For them, I also have a plan of my own. As for you, I want to keep your path straight. You will see that the ones who remain by your side in this transitional season are those who are not dazzled by your shine, not jealous of your calling, not shaken by rumors. They do not need to know every detail, yet they still kneel to pray for you. They do not have to be tagged in every achievement, yet they rejoice when you advance. I am gathering such people and placing them closer to you. If you look only at the hands that are letting go and keep on weeping, you will miss the hands I have just placed right beside you. When I take some away, I am also adding others. But your eyes see only the empty space, so you think there has only been loss. What I am doing in your life is a cleansing at a deep spiritual level. I'm not only purifying the external environment, but also washing away the habits that have taken root in the way you build relationships. I do not want you to connect out of fear of loneliness, out of insecurity, or out of the need to feel validated. I want those who are allowed to be close to you to be people I have first touched, hearts that have agreed to walk through fire with me, not people merely intoxicated with your success story. Otherwise, in time, those very relationships will become the conduit through which your blessing is drained and my name is dishonored. You may say, but I don't want anyone to be hurt because of me. You grow restless, wanting to explain yourself to each person, to hold on to every tie, to keep everyone happy. I understand your gentle heart, but you must not let your niceness stand higher than my word to you. When I close a door, do not try to reopen it with explanations. When I remove someone from your inner circle, do not pull them back in just because you feel guilty. If you keep doing that, you will remain stuck in a whirlwind of emotions, and the blessing I have prepared for you will be delayed over and over again. Grace is not bending to please everyone. Grace is the strength to obey me even when others do not understand. Learn to place your hand over your chest and say, my heart belongs to the Lord, for that is where the fiercest battle line is drawn right now. Your heart is the home where I long to dwell, but the enemy also fiercely wants to occupy that place. It will not come knocking with things that are obviously ugly, but with thoughts that seem very reasonable. Don't be so extreme. Everyone needs to be considerate, just keep them around. After all, you owe them something. What if you've misunderstood them? It causes you to doubt the promptings that the Holy Spirit is placing within you, leaving you confused about whose voice to follow. In those moments, return to the secret place. Do not debate with the crowd. Do not seek the advice of those who have no life of prayer. Let me be the last one you ask, and the one you choose to obey. You must remember, you are not stepping into this inheritance as a hired servant earning wages, but as a child entrusted with a portion. I am placing into your hands what I treasure, inviting you to manage, expand, and care for it together with me. An heir does not live according to personal whims, but with the awareness, this belongs to the Father and has been entrusted to me. When you see everything that way, it becomes easier to let go of what does not help protect the shared estate. If a relationship, a habit, or an old promise threatens to draw glory away from me, you will have the courage to cut it off, because you know you no longer live for your small self, but for a kingdom greater than you. And I want you to hold this firmly in your heart every time I allow something to leave your hands. It is not to leave them empty, but to make room for something greater, purer, and truer. Every time you feel you are being stripped, ask instead, Father, are you making space? I do not play punishment games with you. I am preparing a place. It is only that in your eyes, it looks like loss. So do not resist the spiritual adjustments taking place around you. Do not rush to stitch back together ties that I am untying. Do not cling to the way things used to be just to spare your heart some pain. The pain you feel now is the labor pang of a new birth, not the stab of a fatal wound. I am clearing the way so that when you step into the portion of inheritance already appointed for you, you will not be dragged backward by old entanglements. You are being prepared to live as a mature heir, one who knows how to guard, to discern, and to choose me over comfort. There will come a time when you look back that you will see everyone who remained by your side was a gift, and everyone who left, however painful their story, was part of my plan to preserve you. You will be grateful for both, yet your heart will no longer be bound to either side. And in that very freedom, you will realize that the inheritance is no longer some distant concept, but your everyday life, walking, standing, deciding, loving, letting go, all under my gaze. Then you will more fully understand what I whispered to you from the beginning. I chose you not for blessing to swallow you, but for you to rule with me over the blessing. You were not born to be controlled by what is given to you. You were born to join me in using those very things to bring many others out of the place where you once were. You yourself are the living proof that grace can pick up a wounded person, lead them through fire, cut away what is excess, and then place in their hands a calling. My child, quiet your soul for a moment, and let me whisper this to you. What is coming over your life is not just a few small changes here and there, but a deep root shift. The inheritance I am preparing for you is greater than anything you have ever dared to think about yourself. It will not only touch your finances, but also the way you see yourself, the way your family operates, the way people speak your name. I am arranging a new season in which the very things that once shamed you will be turned by me into testimony. Rooms in your home that used to be heavy with worry will receive a new atmosphere from my breath. Conversations that used to be filled with complaints will become filled with hope. The way you think, the way you respond, the way you choose, everything will gradually be renewed as I pour my inheritance upon you. Your mind will no longer be a field of confusion. As before, I am slowly intervening in your old patterns of thought, replacing them with understanding that comes from the Holy Spirit. You will begin to think not as one who constantly fears loss, but as one who knows they have a Father in heaven. You will discover that you no longer ask, "Am I worthy of this?" but instead begin to ask, "Father, how do I use this in line with your will?" That transformation of thinking is the deepest part of the inheritance. For when your mind is renewed, you will know how to walk in blessing without being devoured by it. The words I am speaking to you now are not for momentary comfort, but to seal a new identity in your thoughts, that you are not an extra, not an outsider, but a true heir in the Father's house. Your name, which used to be mentioned with disdain, tied to stories of failure, I will gradually turn into a reminder of grace. I do not promise that people will suddenly forget everything, but I guarantee that the story around that name will be different. When people speak of you, they will not only talk about your stumbles, they will have to witness how I lifted you up. Your life will be living evidence that I do not erase your past. I use it as the fabric upon which I embroider new threads of glory and restoration. If, as you hear these words, your heart begins to tremble as if something is burning gently inside your chest, that is not just a passing emotion. It is the Holy Spirit touching the deepest place you thought had grown cold. You are not missharing, and you are not making this up. I am breathing a new spark into your soul, the spark of faith that your life is far from over, that what I intend to do is greater than what you have lost. When that flame begins to blaze, I invite you to respond not only with a thought that sounds nice, but with a small action full of spiritual meaning. Right now, as you are watching, I want you to do something very simple that carries the weight of a seal. Press like. I receive the inheritance He has promised. I place myself on the side of that promise. I do not need likes to become greater, but you need a concrete action to mark the decision in your heart. When your finger presses down, it is not just a gesture on a screen. It is a small yet sincere response. I stand with what the Father is doing in my life. A tiny movement in this visible world can be a clear message in the spiritual realm. Do not do it out of habit. Do not tap just because people often say, "Remember to." I am not asking you to do this to satisfy an algorithm. I am asking you to do it as a prophetic act, as if signing your name to a covenant. Just as in days past, my people had to apply the blood of the Lamb on their doorposts to mark, "This house belongs to the Lord." So today, this small action is your way of whispering to heaven, "This life belongs to you. The coming season belongs to you. The inheritance I am about to receive also belongs to you." When you do it with awareness, your heart is repositioned. You are no longer a bystander listening to a story, but a participant in the very story itself. I hear your heart asking, "What could be so serious about a single tap?" I smile because I do not look at the tool. I look at the attitude. I see the heart behind the action. To others, it is only an icon on a screen. To me, it is the first spiritual footprint you take into a new season. Every time you choose to agree with my word, you lay another stone on the path leading to your inheritance. Whenever you do something simply because you love me and trust me, no matter how small, it resounds in heaven. Do not despise simple things, for I love to use the small and humble to open great doors. When you respond in faith, the whole heavenly realm moves. It is not because I lack power and need your help, but because I honor your will. I will not force you into blessings you do not want to receive. I knock, but you must open. I invite, but you must answer. Every decision of yes, I believe, is seen. The enemy sees it too, and it understands that it is no longer so easy to push you down as before, because now you are standing on a different foundation, the foundation of faith that has been tested. Think back on how many times the enemy has tried to crush you. It has used the words of acquaintances, of family members, of those you thought were friends, to stab the softest place in your heart. It has attacked your body with exhaustion and sickness to make you doubt my love. It has assaulted your emotions, leaving you drained, weary of living, even at times wishing you could simply disappear. It has whispered, "Why keep praying? Everything is ruined already." It has pushed you into corners where all you see are walls, just so you would believe that your future is nothing but a dead end. It has twisted every angle and changed every tactic just to make you stop, give up, and walk away. And yet, look, you are still here. Even when you walked very slowly, even when you could only drag yourself one step at a time, even on those nights when you had no words left to pray except a sigh, you still did not turn your back on me. You still opened your heart to listen. You still had just enough strength to seek out my words. You still quietly hoped even when you dared not say it aloud. To others that may seem small, but to me, you have won more victories than you realize. You have come through battles that only you and I know about. Every time you chose not to return to old sins, not to quit halfway, not to deny me in your heart, in all those moments, you were sowing seeds of inheritance for yourself. It is precisely because you did not stop that now you are very close, closer than your feelings tell you. You think you still have a long way to go, but in the spiritual realm, you have already traveled a distance you never thought possible at the beginning. The enemy wants you to believe that your efforts are useless. But I tell you, not one of your tears has fallen without meaning. Not a single day you tried to stand firm has gone unnoticed by me. Not one whisper of "Lord, I still trust you" has failed to touch my heart. The inheritance that is coming is not because you are perfect, but because you have clung to me with perseverance, even in your clumsiness and weakness. I want you to listen carefully. Those who do not give up will see results. Those who keep walking, even slowly, will reach the destination. Those who hold on to faith, even if only as small as a mustard seed, will sooner or later receive the fruit of that faith. This is not an empty slogan. This is the law of my kingdom. I established it from the beginning. You reap what you sow. You have sown days and months of trusting me. You will reap a season of blessing. You have sown long sleepless nights while still holding my hand. You will reap fresh mornings with doors open before you. Today I speak to you with the authority of the one who began all things, and is also the one who completes all things. What I have ordained for you, no person, no circumstance, no power of darkness can stop. They may slander you, but they cannot cancel the promises I have spoken over you. They may shut some doors in front of you, but I can open others they know nothing about. Circumstances may delay your steps, but they cannot make me change my mind. When I release something in the spiritual realm, it will find the exact person I intended, at the exact time I desire, in the way I choose. The only thing that can make you miss it is if you give up, turn away, and step out of that flow yourself. Therefore, my child, guard your heart. Stand upon my word as someone standing on a solid rock. You have come farther than you think, and the inheritance is nearer than you imagine. Let the small action you take today to believe, to respond, to step in, become a declaration echoing within you. I will not turn back anymore. I will walk with you to the very end. And when you choose this, I will do the rest. I will protect, lead, correct, and uphold you, so that the blessing does not become a chain, but becomes living evidence that your God always keeps his word. And in the midst of all my warnings to you about the danger of blessing when the heart no longer stays tender, I also want you to know something very important. You are not abandoned in the midst of human schemes, jealousy, and plots. Even if there are those who sit together just to find ways to bring you down, even if tongues secretly weave stories to stain your name, even if hostile eyes lie in wait for the day you stumble, none of these can cross the boundary I have drawn. They may conspire, fabricate, and coordinate to make you hesitate, but they cannot destroy what I have sealed upon your life, as long as you remain hidden under the shadow of my wings. Remember, to me, you are not just a name on a list, you are mine. Whoever dares to reach out and touch you is touching what is extremely sensitive and precious to me. I do not promise that you will never feel pain, but I do promise that every impact is within my permission and that no arrow can pierce the shield of protection I am holding over you. Just as quiet rivers flow through barren fields, carrying life, moisture, and richness to the soil, my blessing does not come with loud display, but as a steady, patient, and deep current. I do not bless you so that you alone may enjoy it. I want my presence to overflow from your life into your family, your children, your marriage, your work, and even generations yet unborn. I desire that your home become a place of my peace. I long to see in your family not only an abundance of daily provision, but genuine laughter, forgiveness, and a peace that storms on the outside cannot erase. I yearn for you to taste a kind of success the world cannot define, success without losing your soul, having much yet keeping a simple heart, standing at many crossroads, yet still choosing me as the main direction of your life. But for all of this to become reality, my child, there is one thing you cannot overlook. You must learn to trust the plan that my own hand has drawn for you. Your life is not a chain of random events, much less a game of chance. Before you ever appeared in this world, I already knew your whole journey, every stumble, every place you would turn back, every day when you would be too tired to take another step. I am never surprised by any decision you make. I simply wait patiently for you to return, so that together we can adjust the missteps, mend the broken segments, and keep leading you in the right direction. But you can only experience this when you decide to place your heart in my hands, instead of trying to control everything with your own worries and calculations. I see within you two opposing pulls. On one side is my call, inviting you to rest in the arms of the Father. On the other is the voice of fear, constantly urging you to take care of yourself, to protect yourself, to hold on tightly, so you don't lose anything. Whenever you find yourself standing at a crossroads, I still whisper very gently, will you dare to trust me? Trusting me is not about closing your eyes, stepping at random, and hoping everything will somehow turn out better. Trusting me is daring to choose obedience to my word, even when you do not yet see the immediate result. Trusting me is daring to accept losing a few short-term benefits in order to keep your heart whole before me. Trusting me is daring to walk the road few others choose, even when people look at you and do not understand. It is precisely this kind of trust that becomes the key that opens the treasures I have already stored up for you in the spiritual realm, waiting for the right appointed time to be poured out. My dear child, when you let me hold your hand, I do not only lead you through smooth, level paths, I will walk with you even when the road is rough, when the sky grows dark, and when all around you are the roaring voices of fear. I am not the one who appears only in solemn ceremonies and then disappears in the nights of tears. I am the Father who is there in every tiny detail others consider insignificant. I pay attention even to the silent sighs you do not dare express. I know every time you try to act as though you are fine, while you are empty on the inside. I do not promise to clear away every trial on your path, but I promise to stand in the midst of each gust of wind to shield you, so that no storm will ever be strong enough to tear you out of my heart. There is no adversity I cannot turn into material to shape and mold you. There is no dead end where I cannot open up a new way. Imagine your life as a long road with bright stretches and dark stretches, with twists and turns you cannot foresee. If you insist on walking alone, you will stumble over stones I would have seen beforehand. You will wander into detours, running in circles in the dust of confusion and disappointment. But if you allow me to walk beside you, I will show you when to stop, when to move more quickly, when to keep silent, and when you need to speak a clear, decisive word. The wisdom I give you is not a handful of little tips to merely get by, but a light that reorients your whole life, so that wherever you go and whatever you do not lose your gaze on me. On the days when everything seems foggy and uncertain, remember this: you do not need to see the entire road. You only need to walk in the light. I am shining on your steps today. I invite you to do something the world calls weakness, to lay your worries down and let them slip from your hands. To me, this is not resignation, but an act of faith. Every time you decide to set a burden down, you are saying to me, I believe, Father, that you can handle this better than I can. I do not take those words lightly. I treasure them as an offering of honor. I want you to picture every anxiety, fear, and haunting thought in your heart as heavy stones tied to your cloak. The more you clutch them to yourself, the harder it is to lift your head. But as you quietly place each stone into my hand, the cloak on your shoulders grows lighter, and in that very moment, I clothe you with another garment, an invisible mantle of peace that guards your mind against the poisonous winds of doubt and despair. I also want you to engrave this in your heart. The words I speak about peace, about provision, about direction for your future, are not just beautiful phrases to hang on a wall or recite for a passing feeling. They are living words, a covenant I have signed with my own faithfulness. The success I speak of is not confined to numbers, positions, or applause, but is a life that runs on the right course, feeling complete in me whether it seems little or much in the eyes of the world. The abundance I long to give is not only in an account balance, but in the capacity to give, in the joy of sharing. The peace I promise is not a day without problems, but a heart that remains steady when trouble knocks at the door. These are gifts I have prepared, not that will appear if you become more worthy, but that are waiting for you to return to the true place of trust. My child, tend the flame of faith in your heart the way one guards a small lamp in a windy night. Do not let it go out just because of a few sudden gusts of circumstance. Your faith does not need to be spectacular, does not need to shout, does not need to prove itself to anyone. It only needs to be real. As long as you can still whisper to me, I still believe, even though I have not yet seen, that is enough for me to keep on working. I commit myself to you, not in one area only, but in every part of your life, from what people call sacred to the most ordinary everyday matters. There is no corner of your life where I say, you handle this one yourself. I want to step into both your joys and your sorrows, both your successes and your failures, so that in all these places, my imprint is revealed through the way you live, the way you respond, the way you rise again after every fall. The love I have for you goes beyond every measure your human mind can devise. You may have heard the words, God loves you, so often that they sound familiar, but I long for you to pause and look deeper. If I did not spare what was most precious, my only son, what would I withhold from you? If it truly helps you draw nearer to me, I never intended to leave you standing alone in the battles of this life. There are times when you feel I am silent, but silence does not mean absence. There are moments when you cannot feel my nearness, but your emotions are not the measure of my presence. I am present through my promises, through the covenant I have made, through every time I drew you up from a deep pit when even you do not understand how you survived. Therefore, my child, choose to trust. Not to trust blindly in feelings or circumstances, but to trust in me myself, the one who has walked with you since your earliest days and will be with you until your final breath. When you dare to place the steering wheel of your life into my hands, you will begin to see my promises shine through the hidden corners of your days, in the work that seemed completely stuck, suddenly opening up, in the relationship that seemed shattered, being restored, in a heart that seemed hardened, suddenly able to weep because it has been touched. The inheritance I have prepared for you is not a distant mirage, but a real estate of grace in which your name has been written long beforehand. I am only waiting for the day you trust enough, grow quiet enough, and become soft enough in heart to receive it in full. And when you find yourself standing in that blessing, you will no longer fear that the blessing will destroy you, because you will know you are no longer clinging to the blessing itself, but to me, the source of every good thing. My child, what I am about to place in your hands is not a sharp blade to shred your life, nor a heavy hammer to crush your soul. The inheritance drawing near does not come to grind you down, but to lift you up after all the years you thought you had lost for good. It comes wiping away the tears you did not have time to dry, lifting your chin so that you dare to look at yourself again through my eyes. I use this blessing not for display, but to cover the torn places of seasons when you were despised, misunderstood, and pushed to the margins. It carries with it the restoration of dignity you thought had been buried, the healing of deep places you were afraid to name, the vindication in stories where you chose silence instead of arguing. I am not raising you up so that people will be completely convinced of you, but so that both you and they will be compelled to be amazed at my kindness. When you enter that season, I know there will be many astonished eyes turned toward you. Some will stand at a distance, unable to understand why your path has shifted so quickly, why doors that once seemed sealed shut now swing wide open, why the one who was once looked down on has now been honored. They will talk, they will speculate, they will try to explain it by your talent, your connections, or some kind of good luck. But only you and I will know that the true turning point did not lie in a phone call, a contract, or a chance encounter with someone, but in the very moment you knelt before me, dared to let go of what I asked you to release, and stayed in a place others despised. You will remember clearly the day these words touched your heart, no matter how many years pass, because that is when I marked you. I am here, I am speaking, I am turning the course of your story. I have held your hand through the darkest stretches. So the glory to come is not a spectacular comeback of your own making, but the proof that I never abandon anything I begin. You need to understand that the inheritance I have for you is not merely a sum of money to ease your worries about the bills, a position to make you more respected in people's eyes, or a few doors of influence so you can have a voice. All of those may be included in the package of blessing, but the true value of this inheritance goes far deeper. It is bound to the promises I have spoken, carrying the breath of the covenant I sealed with you through the cross. Each blessing is not just a random good thing, but a declaration. This life is in my hands. This story is not written by human will, but ordained from heaven. Therefore, when the inheritance reaches you, it carries the weight of my righteousness, my truth, and my faithfulness, not merely what people call success in society's eyes. You once came to me asking only for enough food, asking not to be in lack, asking simply not to be in need. In your prayers, you often asked only for what was necessary, not daring to think about anything beyond the bare minimum. But I am not the one who throws you a temporary piece of bread and then leaves you to fend for yourself. When you ask for provision, I am not only arranging things so that you make it through this month, this job, this project. I am rebuilding the entire picture of your life. I do not only want to give you a stable income, I want to give you the meaning of living. I want you to wake up each morning knowing why you exist, for whom you live, and for which Lord you give yourself. You think you are asking, Lord, let me survive, while I am answering, I want you to live with purpose. You have sat alone many times and asked me, why did these relationships fall apart? Why is my family fractured? Why have the very people I trusted most wounded me the deepest each time? You hope I will give you a clear answer, a reasonable explanation. But while you only want an answer for your mind, I am preparing a reconciliation for your whole soul. I do not only intend to settle who is right and who is wrong. I want to heal what has been broken, to reconcile you with yourself, with your family, with your past, and above all with me. There are relationships that will not be restored in the way you had hoped, but your soul will be stitched back together in ways you never imagined. There are apologies you will never receive, but I will compensate you with a peace that nothing can steal. You have cried out, please deliver me from this situation, from this lack, from this pressure. You thought that a way out would be enough, but I rarely stop at enough. When I rescue, I tend to go beyond the limits of what you expected. When I pull you up out of the pit, I do not set you back on the edge of the cliff. I bring you into a spacious, safer place so that you not only escape, but can also help lift others. In the place where you once only longed to be free from shortage, I have destined you to step into a season of abundance. Not abundance for meaningless spending, but to become a blessing in the place where I have quietly gathered and decided to multiply what you have sown in faithfulness. My child, when you understand that the inheritance is part of this larger plan, you will look at blessing with a different attitude. You will no longer see it as the result of your efforts, but as a testimony to mercy. You will not use it to elevate yourself, but to bow down and serve. You will stop asking, "How can I keep this blessing?" and instead ask, "How can this blessing be placed rightly within the will of the Lord?" Then you will no longer be controlled by blessing, but will become a wise steward, knowing that everything is only entrusted to your hands for a time, while the purpose and the ownership remain in mine. I also want you to know that there will be people who refuse to accept your change. They have grown used to seeing you as a failure, a hopeless dreamer, someone with faith but not realistic. When I lift you up, they will feel uneasy, confused, even suspicious. Some will say you just got lucky by chance. Some will say you have become pragmatic, and some will cling to your past mistakes in order to deny what I am doing now. Do not let your heart be tangled up by these things. I do not give you an inheritance so that you can go around explaining yourself to everyone. I act so that my name may be revealed, and those who sincerely seek me will recognize that this is a story of grace, not of self-exaltation. Precisely in the days when blessings begin to pour down, I want you to engrave this in your heart. I am the one who has walked with you from the very first day, from when you were clumsy, immature, wounded, and weak. I was present in every stumble, in every moment when you thought, "This time God must have abandoned me." If today you are standing in a more spacious place, it is not a sign that you have become more outstanding, but a testimony that I have never let go of your hand. That very awareness will keep your heart tender in the midst of honor. It will keep you from turning your inheritance into a platform to stand on and instead make it a bridge that leads others closer to me. Let me remind you once more plainly, when I decreed an inheritance for you, it was a decision signed with the blood of my only son, not a temporary favor granted because you happen to please me. What I give is not something people can snatch away, not an opportunity from which someone can push you out of line, even if some become jealous, even if others try to tarnish your name. Even if another stormy season rises up, what I have sealed over your life, no one can undo except you yourself. If you choose to step out of my orbit, that is why I keep calling you. Tenderly yet firmly, abide in me as a branch abides in the vine. When you remain in me, you stand on the path of miracles, not showy miracles, but the miracle of a life being transformed day by day. And from this inheritance, I will then write new chapters that are not only for you. I want to use your blessing to wipe the tears of those who once stood where you have stood, to turn your story into a testimony for souls who believe their lives have been stamped beyond hope. You will look back on the long years of pain and realize not a single moment was wasted, not a single wound was meaningless. Every hurt, every loss, every time you thought you were falling apart has become material for the radiant masterpiece I am painting. And when you use your inheritance not to build yourself a proud fortress, but to open doors and invite others into healing, then the blessing has reached its true purpose. My beloved child, I know these words may make you both rejoice and tremble. Rejoice because you finally hear that true blessing is on its way. Tremble because I am reminding you to walk carefully in it. But do not be afraid. I am not speaking so that you live in anxiety. I am speaking so that you live awake. I will not place on you a burden beyond your strength, nor will I thrust you into a realm of prosperity while your heart has not yet learned how to lean on me. Everything I do has a rhythm, a process, a protection going with it. You only need to take one obedient step at a time. As for the leading of the way, I will take care of it. So when you hear these words, take them as a mark upon your soul. You are standing at the threshold of a new season. Do not forget what I have taught you in the night: humility, dependence, worship, gratitude in the midst of lack. These will be the anchors that keep you steady when the winds of glory begin to blow strongly. This inheritance, if placed rightly within your heart, will not kill your spiritual life, but cause it to flourish. It will lift you up, but it will not lift you out of my hand. It will make people see you differently. Yet it will make you feel your need for me even more. And then, both you and those who behold you will have to exclaim, "This is not the result of human effort. This is the work of the Lord." My child, I want you to pause for a moment and look at yourself through heaven's eyes, not through the memories of others anymore. Children who belong to the kingdom are not born to live off the leftovers that fall from anyone's table. They are not destined to scramble for little scraps of favor from human hands. Those who are called heirs do not live on pity, but from the abundance of their Father. You were born to walk through this life with the awareness that you have a seat at my table, not a place under it. Those who belong to me do not wait for others to grant them opportunities. They step into doors that I myself have set in place, doors which, when I open them, no power can shut. They are not dependent on a single source of provision because I am the one who can pour out from places your mind could never imagine. They are sustained by things that seem coincidental but are in fact my quiet arrangements. They are strengthened by good words they never dared to ask for, but my spirit has moved others to honor, uphold, and encourage them. I do this not because they are perfect, but because I delight in hearts that keep choosing faithfulness, that refuse to run away even in the darkest, coldest stretch of the road. The enemy sees this and seethes with resentment. It cannot erase your name from my hand, so it seeks every way to make you let go with your own. It does not always attack you with crude, obvious blows, but uses things that appear gentle, reasonable. It sends into your life smiling faces and voices that seem well-meaning, yet hide blades pointed at your faith. It uses just enough praise to lower your guard, then secretly sows seeds of self-doubt and doubt in my word. It stirs up shameful memories you thought were buried, then whispers that you are unworthy of anything I have promised. It makes you replay your failures, your stumbles, and says, "See? In the end, you are still just this." It does not need to drag you into blatant sins. It only needs to make you give up, shrink back, and devalue yourself to the point of refusing the very inheritance that is yours. But my dear one, what it never expected is that throughout all that time, I was not standing at a distance watching. I was covering you in the very moments when you could not feel me at all. I used the days you thought were out of range of heaven to drive the roots of your faith deeper. When you could no longer lift your head, I laid my hand upon you. When you thought, "I don't believe I can go on," I whispered, "It's all right. As long as there is even one thread of trust in me left in you, I will take care of the rest." I hid you under the shadow of my wings, even when you felt exposed under the harsh gaze of others' judgment. I concealed you from attacks you never even knew were coming. I blocked slanders that never reached your ears. I scattered schemes against you that you never saw on earth, simply because in heaven I had already said, "This child belongs to me." You have had days when your legs were exhausted, your heart worn out, your mind in turmoil. You have thought, "I wish I had never been born. I wish I could disappear from everything." I know every one of those whispers in your heart. I have watched the nights when you lay there, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. With no tears left to fall, you had no strength for long prayers, only sighs and groans that could not be formed into words. You thought that was failure, but I saw it as the roughest, yet most honest hymn. Because even when you felt shattered, you still could not let go of me completely. You still muttered, "Lord, I don't understand, but I still need you." You were weak, yes, but you refused to let go of my hand. You trembled, yes, but you did not turn your back and run away. In those moments when you rose up half-heartedly, lifted hands with no strength left, and could only say, "I worship," heaven was not nearly as silent as you imagined. It is precisely in those moments that seem so small that all of heaven is stirred. When you decide to believe, even when there is no reason left to believe, that is, when the color of the spiritual battlefield changes. It is not when you shout loudly, not when you do great things, but when you choose not to let go of the bond between you and me in those unseen moments, that my angels receive their orders to move. It is as though I say to the armies of heaven, "There is a soul there," allowing me to shape it through the fire, surround it, protect it, for it will carry a portion of my inheritance on this earth. What do you see? Only a small room, empty hands, and a weary heart. And what do I see? An heir being forged into strength, a witness being formed in the dense darkness of despair. The inheritance I have for you was not thought up recently, nor did I wait to see you doing okay before hastily putting it together. Your life did not begin on the day you became aware of yourself. It began in my thoughts, even before your body was woven together. I had written the first lines of your destiny in my scroll. I knew which dead ends you would walk into. I knew where you would choose wrongly. I knew your stumbles, your compromises, the times you would wound yourself. I have seen even the dark passages you are still too ashamed to tell anyone about today. Yet, through all of it, the map of your inheritance was never torn up. It was folded. It was delayed. Some paths were made longer, but it has never been erased. It is true that unwise decisions have sent you on detours and soul ties with this person, or that have drained your strength and pulled you off course. It is true. There were times you joined hands with things that were not from me, leading you into dead ends where I had never set my feet. There were relationships, alliances you thought were a blessing, but in reality, they were delicate nets, slowing every step you took toward what truly belonged to you. I saw those invisible cords, and little by little, I allowed situations to arise so that they might be exposed. Each time you were betrayed, abandoned, or misunderstood by those you trusted, you thought I was silent. But I was using those very collisions to snap the links that had been wrapping themselves around your soul. You once complained, "Why did you not let me receive the blessing earlier, when I was still fervent, still young, with so many opportunities ahead?" You did not know that if I had placed the inheritance into your hands, while your soul was still in turmoil, while your eyes were still dimmed by flattery, it would have drowned you. In those days, you were easily swayed by warm handshakes and invitations to partner that sounded noble, yet hid selfish motives. Back then, you still believed that anyone who spoke of me, who used my name, must be upright. You were not yet seasoned enough to distinguish the true light from the light reflected off a warped mirror. You were moved too easily by those who appeared to honor you, and so you were not ready then. Too many wrong hands would have reached in to benefit from what was crafted specifically for you. I love you too much to let that happen. That is why I let time become your teacher. Pain did not come to kill you, but to make you grow. Those long stretches of silence were not me abandoning you, but me teaching you to distinguish my voice from the thousand noises around you. Human rejection became the bitter medicine that helped you stop depending on the gaze of others. Each time you were pushed to the back, seemingly disqualified from the race, I was pulling you closer to my heart. In loneliness, you learned to recognize my voice, not through emotion, but through a quiet knowing. In tears, you learned that not everyone who stands beside you is meant to walk with you to the end. In the breaking, you began to love truth more than smooth appearances. Now, when you look deep within yourself, you can recognize this. You are no longer who you once were. You are no longer easily swept away by inflated praise or by invitations that seem spiritual, yet run against the peace I give. You are beginning to see the difference between those who come to seek favor and those who come to serve. Your yes and your no are no longer based primarily on advantage, but on the whisper within your heart. You can now stand before things that once overwhelmed you without trembling as before. Pain has thickened the fragile skin within you, not to make you callous, but to give you the strength to guard what I am about to entrust to you. Now I can tell you what I could not say before. The time has drawn near, not because you are now perfect. You never have been, and you never will be perfect by your own standard. But you now bow your knees before me more easily than you bow your head before the world. You have learned to let go of certain people in order to keep my voice, rather than keep a few and trade away my presence. You have come to understand that inheritance is not a crown for you to boast in, but a cross for you to be willing to carry in your own way, in the sphere, calling, and circumstances where I have placed you. These things tell me that you have entered a new season within, and therefore a new season on the outside is about to open. But my child, even as I say it is near, I still want you to keep the posture of a learner, not that of an owner. You must remember that what I am about to give you is still only one part of the greater picture I am painting. It is not an ending point, but the starting point of another stretch of journey with deeper and wider impact. This inheritance is not merely so that your life will be less hard, but so that many others may be blessed through it. I entrusted it into your hands because I have seen in you not only the need to receive, but the desire to become a channel through which I can flow. And when you keep your heart in that place, the blessing will not consume you. It will become a living testimony to my love, my protection, and my patience over a life that has agreed to let me shape it to the very end. My child, those who lie in wait for you to fall, who whisper, sting, scheme, and calculate to bring you down. They have no idea that at the very moment they think they are winning, I am using their every move to lift you to another level. They think their bitter words will break you, but each arrow they shoot, I pick up and bend, turning it into evidence that my hand still keeps you. They think their plans to erase you will silence your voice. Yet the more they push you into the dark, the brighter you shine. For I am the one who makes light burst forth in the night. The jealous imagine that if they block your way, you will stop, but they do not know that I have no need of the road they think is necessary. I can open another path right where no one expects it. When they hurry to slam doors shut, I am not at all disturbed. For with a single word from me, a new door appears that no one can lock. Remember, the inheritance I have for you is not built on human words, but on mine. I do not speak to amuse, nor do I promise merely to soothe for a moment. Once I have spoken, heaven and earth will turn according to that word until it is fulfilled. What I have begun in your life, I do not abandon. I am not the type who follows trends, coming when excited, leaving when bored. I am the one who is steady as a mountain, and my word is just as firm. When you look back over the years, have there not been many times you thought everything was over, and yet I opened a new way? Have there not been moments when you thought, this time I will not make it through, and yet here you are, still sitting, still breathing, still hearing my voice? That alone should show you that I have not walked away from the work I am building. You are a project I have personally designed, and I will not hand it over for anyone to ruin. And so even if storms lie ahead, even if the trials before you look far greater than your strength, I am not anxious. You see high mountains, I see opportunities to display my power. You see great enemies. I see them as inflated shadows meant only to frighten you. You tremble as you look at yourself, counting your abilities, your connections, your resources. But I look only at myself, the one who lacks nothing. You think, how can I possibly win this battle? But while I am whispering, you do not go into this battle alone. The battles ahead are not arenas for you to prove your strength, but stages for me to reveal mine. You do not need to strain to show others how capable you are. You need only stand and let me be the one who fights for you. The inheritance I am preparing for you does not stop with your generation. When I touch your life, I am also touching your children, those little ones who may not yet realize they are living within the sphere of this favor. You think you are fighting only for yourself, but in truth, you are breaking chains that have bound your family for generations, barriers that held your ancestors in defeat, smallness, and shame. I want to shatter them, so your descendants will not repeat them. Invisible curses, patterns repeated in the bloodline. I want to bring them to an end through your very life. This inheritance is not merely a sum of money, a house, or a position. It is a new history being written. You will see things that seem dead being raised up by me. Relationships grown cold, which seemed beyond saving, I can restore. I can pour love back into a marriage that feels empty. I can rekindle it with a flame of gentleness, patience, and listening. Families who have long ceased kneeling to pray together, I can call them back to the family altar. The children in your home who have seen you stumble and heard harsh words, I can use the very change in your heart to show them that I am real. The inheritance I give is not only in material things. It is in the reconciliation I bring, in parents who know how to say sorry, children who know how to be humble, brothers and sisters who know how to come to one another in forgiveness. I am also touching the very deep cuts in your heart, the places where you stopped praying long ago, not because you no longer believe in me, but because you are afraid to hope again. You once prayed for someone to change, prayed for a bad habit to be broken, prayed for a door to open. But as the years passed with no sign at all, you put that prayer away into a locked drawer and told yourself, maybe God doesn't intend to touch this area. You stopped mentioning it, stopped expecting, just to spare yourself the pain of seeing nothing change. But my child, my silence is not a full stop. Just because you see no movement does not mean I am not at work. There are surgeries that must be done very deep and very long, at layers the human eye cannot see. In the same way, there are regions of your soul that I am quietly touching, and when the time is right, the result will appear in such a wondrous way that even you will be amazed. The words that pierced you when you were still a child, words people threw out just for fun, to vent, or in anger, yet stayed inside you for decades, I have not overlooked them. I know every single word, and I will not allow those sentences to be the final verdict over your life. The inheritance I am releasing is not merely giving you more, but replacing those old judgments with my new declaration. You are the one I love. You are not excess. You are not an accident. You are not a burden. I will use the very places where you were humiliated to honor you in a way that makes people have to admit only I could have done this. People may think they have shaped your future with a few sentences, but I am the one who has the last word. You used to think inheritance was just a series of financial breakthroughs or a string of job and ministry opportunities. But I want you to understand, the inheritance I give is complete. It is the restoration of your self-respect, the ability to look into the mirror without shame, the freedom to be your true self in me. It is when you can walk into a crowded room without that old voice yanking you back. I don't belong here. It is when you can receive a compliment without needing to exaggerate it and without needing to deny it, because you know where your value comes from. The blessing I give will not make you swell with pride, nor will it make you shrink back. It will help you stand tall, yet still bow your head before me. The inheritance I am preparing is not a temporary patch slapped over a tear. It is an entirely new garment tailored to the stature I intended for you. I do not stick a small bandage on a wound that is already infected. I want to wash it, to heal it from the root. I do not want you to merely hurt less. I want you truly well. I do not want you just to survive. I want you to live fully. Therefore, the blessing I give will be accompanied by inner transformation. You will not only receive things to use, but also the kind of heart that can carry them. And pay attention to this. What I pour out over you is not the crumbs that fall from someone else's table. You do not live off leftovers. You do not eat what others have refused. Your inheritance is not what people no longer want. I give you your own portion, a portion marked in heaven with your very name. The flow I have prepared is not a little stream that easily dries up under the sun, but a deep source flowing from me, myself, the one called the spring of living water. You do not have to run from place to place trying to catch a few drops. When you are in me, I can cause a spring to break forth in your very desert. When everything around you is barren, you can still be renewed because your source does not come from circumstances, but from me. The words I promise you are not dangling in mid-air, waiting on chance. They rest on the foundation of my very nature, faithful, unchanging. You change, others change, the seasons of life change, but I do not. When I say I will be with you, I do not add conditions afterward. When I declare that I have plans of peace for you, I do not step back when you stumble. I correct you, I reorient you, but I do not withdraw my promise. This inheritance is not of the kind that is here now, gone tomorrow, here today, who knows about tomorrow. It is a steady process held fast by my own hand. Even when your hand shakes, I do not let go. You may ask, so what do I need to do in all of this? I say to you, only this. Remain in me. Do not leave the place I have planted you. Keep your heart soft, so that when blessing comes, it does not harden your heart. Let me lead you, step by step. Even when you think you are wise enough already, let me call you back to the secret place. Every time you begin to be intoxicated by applause, remember to look back and see how I have walked with you in the past, so that you can believe I will not change in the future. When you hold on to this, inheritance will no longer be a danger, but will become the road I used to bring you and those who belong to you closer to my heart. And then one day you will stand and look back in the midst of all that I have built in your life, and you will understand those schemes were never the main story. They were only the backdrop that made my grace stand out. The tears, the long nights, the words people once spoke over you, all of them only deepen and make more real my story in you. The inheritance you are stepping into is not meant to exalt you, but to retell the story of a God who keeps his word, who never abandons, never breaks his promises, and always brings to completion what he has begun. When this truth is anchored in your heart, you will walk without trembling before blessing and without fear of losing it, because you know the most precious thing you have is not what is in your hands, but the one who is holding your hand. My child, when my words begin to take shape in your life, the very atmosphere around you will change. Not only will circumstances shift, but even the way people look at you will be different. Some will rejoice with you sincerely, but there will also be eyes watching only to see where you will stumble. That is why I do not want you to lay out everything I am doing in the secret place between you and me on every banquet table. What belongs to covenant, the times I pulled you out of the depths, the words I whispered to your soul in tears, these are not stories to parade around just to gain views. My dear one, I want you to learn which things should be spoken and which should be kept on the inner altar. Joseph once shared the dreams I gave him among those who were not on the same wavelength, and that lack of discernment drew him into a journey far more roundabout than it needed to be. I still turn evil into good, but you do not need to add extra twists and turns to your own path just because you do not know how to handle holy things with care. What I am opening up in you right now is precious. If you toss it carelessly before those who are only curious and not God-fearing, it will be trampled, and your heart will be crushed along with it. I want you to look straight at this reality. Not everyone who smiles in front of you truly desires to see you go far. Some come close when you are weak, just so they can feel above you. Some show up when blessing begins to pour out because they smell gain, not my fragrance. I'm not telling you to be suspicious of everyone, but I want you to have spiritual eyes to discern. If you treat everyone exactly the same, you will entrust holy things into the hands of hearts that are not faithful. I am quietly rearranging the circle around you. There are names I am pulling away, faces whose inner motives I am allowing to surface, companions you thought I sent, who in reality are only passers-by, there to take and not to give. As those faces gradually become clearer, do not be alarmed, and do not rush to blame me. This is how I protect the seed of inheritance that I am sowing in you, so it will not be buried in a field mixed with both truth and lies. Let me say this gently, yet truthfully. There are relationships you have called brother, sister, friend, spiritual soulmate, that I myself have never called by those names. You gave them the right to speak into your life. You shared with them the deepest things I had told you. You allowed them to step into places that were meant only for me. And when they turned their backs, you shattered. You did not realize that many times, by loosening your spiritual boundaries, you turned your heart into a playground for the enemy. I did not establish brotherhood in Christ to become a vessel for control, jealousy, or exploitation. When you find yourself suppressing my voice for fear of displeasing someone, when you feel choked every time I ask you to obey but they say, "Don't be naive," that is a sign that this tie is no longer pure. I do not want you to treat the words "unequally yoked" lightly. They are not a moral slogan, but a holy safeguard for your spiritual future. In this season, I myself am pulling back the curtain on the roles being played around you. I allow certain words to pierce you. I allow some people to turn away without warning. I allow awkward situations to expose the true motives in each heart. You may ask, why does God let me witness all these ugly things? But I want you to know these things did not just appear, they were already there, only until now you did not see them. The inheritance I am about to entrust to you cannot be set down in a room full of toxic fumes. If the atmosphere around you is thick with jealousy, scheming, and envy, a blessing will be twisted into pressure, and favor will feel heavy. I do not want you to live that way. So I am doing the work of a craftsman. I skim off the dross, I sift, I separate gold from sand. I strip away what clings, but does not belong to the core. That work may sound fierce, but at its deepest level, it is tenderness. I know that if everything were left as it is, then when blessing pours out, the very things you refuse to confront today will be what pulls you down tomorrow. You may think it would be better if everything just stayed calm, if everyone got along, if nothing were disturbed. But my child, a false peace is more dangerous than a real storm. A house with cracks in its foundation, no matter how beautifully painted, needs only one strong wind to collapse. I love you too much to let your blessings be built on such a foundation. Therefore, if lately you have found yourself losing people you thought you could never live without, if names that once felt so close have suddenly become distant, I ask you not to see it merely as a string of tragedies. See it as a cleansing that I am actively carrying out. I am not tearing down your world for my amusement. I am dismantling what is temporary in order to build what is truly secure. What you need to do is not to try to patch back together what I am taking apart, but to stand still and let me complete my work. While I am purifying what is on the outside, I am also inviting you to look again at your inner attitude. Where do you intend to place me in every relationship and in every decision concerning your inheritance? I am not seeking the most beautiful songs or the longest expressions of devotion. I am seeking hearts that see me as their center. Honoring me is not only found in the words, "Thank you, Lord," on your lips, but in the way you dare to say no to what does not belong to me, even when it is attractive. When you sign a contract, do you ask me? When you accept a partnership, Do you weigh how it will affect your inner life? When you choose to keep someone beside you, only because you are afraid of being alone, do you ask, Lord, is this person in step with your will for me? I want you to let me be involved, not only in your times of prayer, but in every step you take. Do not keep me outside the process, and then only call me in to bless decisions that are already finished. I am not a rubber stamp to be pressed onto the plan you have written by yourself. I am the one who writes the plan, and you are the one who walks in it. I also do not want you to treat your spiritual life as a separate area, cut off from work, family, and finances. To me, everything is one. The way you use money reflects what you worship. The way you treat those under your authority reveals how you understand the grace I have given you. The way you react when there is criticism exposes whether you are seeking glory for me or for yourself. Do not think that simply reading the Bible, going to church, and joining some activities is enough to finish the spiritual part. Your inner life is the underground stream that nourishes all the other parts. If you are indifferent, if you treat being close to me as something optional, if you regard my presence as an extra choice rather than the air you breathe, then gradually you will find blessing becoming heavy. I speak to you with all the tenderness a father can give his child. The time has come for you to be serious about your soul. Do not play with what belongs to eternity. Do not come in and out of my presence as if entering and leaving an entertainment room, staying when you want and leaving when you please. Do not use my name to decorate your own ambitions and then call it serving the Lord. I know everything. I see clearly where you are sincere and where you are acting. What I long for is not a perfect child, but a child who dares to take off the mask before me. If you are real with me, I will be real with you. If you are willing to let me point out the dark areas in your heart that you do not dare to touch, I will lead you out of chains that not even the greatest blessing could break. Remember this, the inheritance I have for you is not only to have more, but to live truer. I want to grow in you to such a degree that wherever you are, whatever you do, whomever you stand before, people will sense more of my fragrance than the scent of your success. That is why I am correcting each small detail that seems unrelated. The way you speak about others behind their backs, the way you handle conflict, the way you react when you are misunderstood. I do not correct you to make things hard for you. I correct you to prepare you for larger spaces where even one wrong attitude can cause an entire door to collapse. Before I place you where many eyes are watching, I want to be sure your heart is used to living before one pair of eyes alone, mine. If you allow me to continue this work of purification, even though it may hurt at times, you will one day realize that you have become much lighter. You will no longer have to strain to maintain an image. You will no longer be afraid of losing people, losing work, or losing your position. You will begin to understand that the only thing you truly need to keep is your relationship with me. The people who remain beside you after this sifting will be those I have appointed to be with you, not those who have clung on by their own strength. They will not be overwhelmed by your blessing, but will stand in awe of the one who blesses you. Beside them you will be able to breathe, to be yourself, to cry, to be weak without being despised. That is the pure environment where the inheritance of heaven can blossom. Therefore do not grieve over what I am taking away. Do not try to repaint the faces I have allowed to fall out of the frame. Do not try to hold on to the seats I have quietly moved away. The more you cling, the more you will hurt. The more you submit, the more you will be set free. Stand in your rightful place, the place of a child who knows how to fear, to trust, to obey, and to place me above every blessing. When you choose to keep me at the center, everything else will find its proper place. And then your inheritance will no longer be a glittering trap, but will become a springboard for you and many others to step closer to my heart. Now, with your heart stilled and open before me, turn what you have just heard into intimate whispers, speaking to your Father as to the one who understands every single beat within your heart. O Almighty God, beloved Father of my life, today I draw near to you not only with my own needs, but also with the hidden fear that if you pour out great blessing, my heart will not be able to hold it. I ask you to guard my heart before you open new doors. Please shape me so that I may love the giver more than every gift, and seek your face above all success or reputation. Please teach me to fear being far from you more than I fear lacking money, to tremble more at losing your presence than at losing opportunities. When people praise me, let my ears still listen for your voice. When doors open, let my knees bow even lower. Let blessing not turn me into a proud, cold person, but let it become an opportunity for me to humble myself more deeply, knowing I am only a steward and not the owner. Let me live so that whether in high places or low, when people look at me, they can see only one sure thing, that you, Lord, are still my everything. Heavenly Father, you who see in detail every scheme hidden in the darkness, I come before you with my anxieties about the looks, words, jealousy, and envy of people. There are things I have heard that have hurt me, and there are words I have not heard, yet my soul feels them, making me unsettled and doubtful of myself. Today, I hand all those human shadows over to you. I ask that my heart will no longer be controlled by the obsession of what people think, but will be tied firmly to the truth of what you say about me. Please remind me that whoever touches my life with evil intent is touching something precious that you are guarding. Please teach me to believe that no scheme can break the plan you have ordained while I still remain hidden in you. I do not ask you to remove every difficult person around me, but I ask you to give me a steadfast heart that is not swept into hatred, not controlled by fear, not responding in the flesh, but simply standing still in you to see your hand fight on my behalf. Lord, I thank you because even though I have many times let my heart drift away, you have still patiently waited for me to return. I thank you because you have not blessed me according to my impatient demands, but according to your wise timing. I know that if you had answered right when I wanted, I might have been crushed under things I was not yet mature enough to carry. I thank you for the doors you closed, though I wept at the time. Now I am gradually seeing that they were grace. I thank you for the seasons when I thought I had been abandoned, when in fact you were hiding me from the enemy's sight. I know that if it had not been for the times you held me back and slowed me down, I would not be here today to hear your word. All the delays, the detours, the times I was pushed aside, I now offer them back to you as a song of thanksgiving, because all of them have been in your hands, and not one thing has been meaningless. Loving Father, I am grateful to you for showing me the true face of blessing, not something that comes to take you away from me, but something you use to reveal yourself through me. I thank you that you do not hide from me the subtle dangers of prosperity, but speak to me with both gentleness and seriousness. I thank you for allowing me to experience both days of lack and days of abundance, so that I may know the value of relying on you in every circumstance. I thank you that you do not despise the small steps, the times I trembled yet still did your will, the times I chose to refuse what seemed good simply because it did not bear your mark. You yourself have seen and kept all of these. I thank you that you care not only about what I do for you, but that you care about me, the little child who is often tired and afraid, yet still wants to love you with all the heart. I offer this prayer in the holy name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Do not forget to